Hello and welcome to Discovering the World of Natural Health. Our store, Remedy This Naturally, located at 1140 Benvenue Road here in Rocky Mount. Appreciate all you guys on the outlying areas in the cities, towns that are adjacent to us, and we're so happy that you can be part of this broadcast and we can share information that will be helpful to your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness through God's pharmacy. Today we're going to share about entering into the green pharmacy. And that kind of gives you an idea. We're going to be talking about plants. We're going to be talking about how a gentleman by the name of James Duke, just a powerful individual who searched the world over looking for plants to help us understand. Now, you'll know from my background, as we've talked about this over the years, that it is my belief that the Garden of Eden was the ultimate location for Adam and Eve, that they had been put in a safe environment with everything they needed to be made whole and continue to be whole in their life in pursuit of happiness. And I am excited that there are people who will dedicate their life to proving this, to making sure that God's way of reaching out to His children is very important. The sad thing about it is, we have a tendency not to pay attention to the good of the greens until it's not too late, but that's usually what people say. But it's usually at a time there are challenges going on, and it's even harder for our body to get back into what we call homeostasis, balanced, and having what we need to be balanced. But if we will understand that our Creator loved us enough that He wanted us to, quote unquote, be perfect and be in good health based on how our soul prospered. And there is a connection between health, wellness, and food. What we eat, or better yet, what we do not eat, is very, very important. We have a tendency to want to wait until we gotta make a change. You know, it's like years, I remember Pop smoked, and he smoked his old Camel cigarettes, if any of you remember that far back. But until he got emphysema, and then he had to do as much as he could for the respiratory system without having to fight the emphysema, give it a chance to be able to fight it. So what I know is that we are humans, and we like to take care of everything our way, or you can hit the highway. So let's talk about some of the great things. And if you're taking the time to watch this program, you have an interest in your health and wellness, and you want to do it more in connection with how God would prove it to be. You talk about herbs. The classic definition includes woody trees and shrubs, including ginkgo and hawthorn, two of the biggest selling medicinal herbs in Europe. That's why some people refer to the term to botanical and botanical medicine, it includes trees and shrubs as well as herbs. So, I define an herbal simply as a medicinal plant. It can be woody or non-woody, from a cold climate or a tropical one. It can be wild or a tame food, a weed, a culinary spice. You know, it doesn't have to be green. But plenty of roots and barks and plants are not green or medicinal, and therefore are part of what we call the green pharmacy. There are a lot of medicinal mushrooms. They're not green, and they deserve to have our attention as well. Most Americans believe that we have the best healthcare system in the world. That's at least what all the doctors and governmental health experts keep telling us. But anyone who has ever gotten the run of the round from a doctor or had to deal with a health insurance company knows that if you have, of course, an herbalist alone is not the answer, but I think that when you're getting help, I think that the leaves and the plants still have a lot to be desired. And it has a lot to offer us. Most Americans assume that the pharmacological, boy, I tore that up. The pharmacological their doctors prescribe are unquestionably better than herbal medicines that few doctors and relatives, few Americans have or know much about. It delights me to no end that this picture is changing rapidly. You know, I've seen over the last 45 years how things have changed. I have seen that people pay attention a whole lot more than they used to. The reason herbs are not more popular in the United States is that the drug companies can't patent them. You can't put God in a box and sell him. The drug companies make their monies by pulling the medicinal active molecules out of the drugs, let's stop all over. In other words, they take the medicinal plants and they take the molecules out of the herbs and they make them a chemical so they can patent them. The companies can then patent their new molecules, giving them brand names, and sell them back to us for a lot more money than their original herbal source cost. Let me just elaborate on that a little bit. The thing you have to understand, God's our Father. He loves His children, and He is not interested in making a profit off of His children. He basically wants His children to love and respect Him and be able to listen to His teachings so we can have wellness because of the love that is between a father and a child. And that is not something He takes lightly. So He doesn't have to say, well, I'm not going to tell you what these plants won't do because I want you sick. No. He says, I have made them available. You pay attention, and you will have what you need to be made whole. You know, of course, the drug companies always say that their unique molecules are better, stronger, more targeted, safer than herbs. I'd readily agree that they are stronger. In fact, they're often too strong and have bad side effects that their herbal precursors might not have. As the pharmacological being better, that's something hard to say. In some studies, herbal products clearly perform better. Ginger, for example, has been shown to be superior to Dramamine as a preventive therapy for motion sickness. So, and a lot of times individuals get ready to take a cruise or spend time where there's going to be motion sickness, then you can just take ginger capsules or drink ginger tea, and it will help settle you down. And it seems to work better than the Dramamine. You be the judge. Find out. Try both ways and see which one works out best for you. I'm not saying that pharmaceuticals are bad. I am saying that we need more research that tests herbs against pharmaceutical drugs. Until that happens, we simply won't know which is better. That leads me to a rather shocking conclusion that Americans are not necessarily getting the best medicine. The green pharmacy, with its herbal therapies, may in many cases prove to be more economical, more effective, and safer, all with fewer side effects than the pharmaceuticals. Our challenge is to transcend the assumption that they are made by doctors, the advertising and promotion of the drug companies, and the narrow and restrictive drug approval process used by the U.S. government. Our challenge is to think green, not mercenary. Monetary green for the pharmaceutical firms, but cleanse, empowering green of chlorophyll, the green that feeds, fuels, oxidizes, and medicates our planet. Economics drives the pharmaceutical companies, but what drives the green pharmacy and the green lifestyle is generally ecological. The idea that we're connected to everything else in the planet and that we will thrive or fall apart. One or the other is going to happen to us. But let me just, I think I need to hit on this because I don't want you to jump into something so fast and you have a bad side effect, so to speak. So I think we need to put safety first in the herbs, and you can also do that with the pharmaceuticals as well. I'm going to be the first one to admit to you that herbs are not risk-free. To benefit from using herbs, you need to have some basic background information. Then you need to have confidence in the herbs and the ones that you use in the herbal practitioner or consultant. You need to find out where they're coming from, where they got the education, why they perceive that these are good for you and some of them are not. There is no difference from conventional medicine, where you need to have confidence in your physician and any pharmaceuticals you take. As a rule, however, rational herbal medicine is safer than conventional medicine because the medicines are more diluted and the side effects tend to be less severe. That's in the herbals. But you still have to exercise caution when using herbal medicines. You also need to understand that things can go wrong. There are a number of strategies that you must use to protect yourself. First of all, get the right stuff. Unless you're absolutely sure an herb's identity, don't use it. So that means don't be going out there just picking stuff off of bushes and digging up roots. This rule applies mainly to people who are picking herbs in the wild, of course. People have been known to eat poisonous or dangerous plants simply because of misidentification and took something other than they thought they were taking. The classic killer is the poison in hemlock, which looks kind of like wild parsley or wild parsnips. There are 300,000 higher plant species, and all chemically distant. 10% of them are carefully screened for their medicinal and toxic constituents. A good herbalist knows about 1,000 to 2,000 species. This means that experienced as well as inexperienced herbalists can make mistakes. And that's why I'm going to tell you, we need to take things, you need to shop at Remedy This Naturally and get what's in the bottle. Don't be cheap when it comes to your health. Make sure that the herbal company that you're buying from test their product. Make sure they are what they are supposed to be. And as a general rule, you should not take herbs while you're pregnant. And, if so, it's between you and your obstetrician as to what you should do on that. Because some of these herbs can form and cause miscarriages. So that's important. Also, pregnancy, you should limit your consumption of caffeine. One study showed what the researchers called a strong association of caffeine intake during pregnancy, and they had a fetal loss. The amount in 1 to 2 cups of brewed coffee might double your risk of spontaneous abortion. In addition, there are a few more don'ts during pregnancy. Don't smoke, don't drink alcohol, and again, don't take any drugs, including over-the-counter products, except the ones advised from your physician. Be protected. That life that you carry within you is the most precious gift, and it is a gift from the Heavenly Father who made us to pass on and have another generation to follow. Okay. Herbal devotees sometimes get the idea that they can diagnose illness as well as come up with an herbs to treat, but diagnosis is a separate act, art, and is best left to your physician. and that's very important. We need to know what the physician holds the answers as to what's going on. Watch out for side effects. Be alert to allergic reactions. People can be allergic to anything. Even if you have known allergens, you might be allergic to a new herb that you try. Be careful. I'm just saying, this is a program to help us understand. We need to be safe. We need to understand what we're accomplishing, and we need to use the proven track record of the herbs, roots that have been done, and the precautions that we should take. Okay? Beware of interactions. Pharmaceutical medicines sometimes interact badly with each other and with certain foods. The same goes for herbal medicines, although many herbal reference books neglect to mention this. Always be particularly careful when you taking more than one drug or herb or a combination of drug and herbs. Bad interactions are always possible. If you suspect a bad interaction, talk to your pharmacist or your medical doctor. Okay? Keep the lines of communication open. Take and understand what's going on. I really like the concept of taking herbal medications that are tested and proven, have the efficacy of being what it is for our safety. What I would say is quicker, easier, and sometimes safer and surer to simply buy herbal medicines, but in so doing, you forego the exercise and miss the spiritual power of planting, nurturing, harvesting, processing, and preparing your own green medicine. We've gotten away from the gardens, folks. I just planted yesterday some salads, some greens, a mixed group that another month from now, hopefully I can pinch some off in the little bitty garden spot. It is perfectly acceptable to buy what are known as standardized herbal products at a health food store or our herbal shop, like Remedy This. In fact, these herbal preparations are gaining popularity so rapidly that there's a good chance you'll even be able to find many of them in your local, even in your drugstore. But especially homeopathics, aromatherapy. There are people that do that within the pharmacological field. Standardized means that the herbal products have been processed a bit to guarantee a known minimal level of one or more of the major active ingredients. These products are the best quality you can purchase. Standardization largely compensates for the natural variability you find in bulk herbs, the kind available in bins or jars and measured out according to weight. And it takes the uncertainty out of herbal preparation. You know more exactly how much of the active ingredient you're getting. So it's good to learn, be faithful, and be a student of what you're doing. Unfortunately, standardization makes herbs more expensive than the book would be. Even so, you could call this expensive. Standardized herbal extracts are still only about 1/10 as costly an average as the pharmaceuticals that treat the same conditions. So you're still way ahead when you take the standardized green route of herbs. Standardization extracts do vary somewhat because the longer these herbal medicines are stored, the less potent they become. But then, pharmaceuticals are not perfectly either. You can usually find standardized herbal extracts quite easily, like at Remedy This Naturally, for those of us in our location. And it'll say if it's standardized on the label itself to help you understand that. I'll read this instead of quote. Unfortunately, the labels of herbal preparations often don't say much else. That's because an herb must be approved as a drug in the eyes of the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, in order to specify medicinal or therapeutic use. Now, why? Herbal marketers must spend on average a cost of $200 million proven to the agent's satisfaction that the herb is safe, effective, and justifies a medicinal claim. Of course, only the big drug companies have this kind of money, and who in the right mind would spend millions to prove the benefit of a plant that you can't patent? That's why they're made into extracts, made into things that can be patented for that purpose. I mean, just like a while ago we talked about ginger, And you're going to patent ginger? No. Because you can grow it in your yard. In the same way, manufacturers are prohibited from labeling herbal products to specify possible side effects. That's because the FDA views this information as medicinal claims. Without clear labeling, consumers are left largely uninformed, and you have to really trust what you've learned, sought. So I asked you to do that. You know, one purpose of talking about this on this show is to provide you with information that you need in order to use herbs safely and effectively. Nevertheless, I sincerely wish the FDA would allow good information to be included on herbal labels. Anyone should have access to this information when they buy an herbal medicine. I hope that if enough of us pester the FDA long enough, perhaps one day we will be able to buy standardized herbs and a well-labeled for consumers. It's getting better. You'll notice that it will tell you that this may be for the cardiovascular system. Okay, what I'm going to do, I've got about a dozen medicinal herbs that I suggest buying as standardized products. And if for any reason you could buy these as bulk herbs as well. Okay, you guys got your pencil and paper ready to go? Because these are just going to talk about some herbs and talk about what it can do. Okay, calendula. Buy it as a salve to treat bruises, cuts, and scrapes. Calendula, you know, I plant them in my yard. Marigolds, you know, calendula. So calendula, buy it as a salve to treat bruises, cuts, and scrapes. I grew up in what we had was a little kitchen, and it had a pie safe. In that pie safe was a drawer right underneath where you roll out the pie dough, and there was some black salve. That black salve was used for any and everything. Not only was it used for us human beings, brothers, sisters, mom and dad, and anybody who was visiting, but it was also used for the animals as well. And it was a salve that was for specifically like bruises, cuts, and scrapes. So calendula would be one for that purpose. Chamomile. A tincture provides a reliable sedative and can be used to make a stomach settling tea. They say that the harvesters of the chamomile are so mellowed out by being in the fields and just experiencing the medicinal quality of chamomile that they love doing that. It keeps the people happy and content. Folks, in this day and time, we need chamomile. We need it to help us deal with being a sedative to mellow us out. And that's also stomach settling. So if you're having something, a little bit of indigestion, proven track record of chamomile is a stomach settling tea. Got it? Cool. See how this worked? And this is through years and years and decades and centuries of use. And you just got to know that you can use that herb for things of this nature. Powerful information, powerful knowledge. And it's good to know because you may not have your Pepto-Bismol. You may have chamomile and have it on hand. And you will have it on hand if you understand the medicinal benefits and that when it's time there you need them, you have them accessible. Okay? Echinacea. The flowers and roots stimulate the immune system to help fight disease. Echinacea, our pioneers who came here to America were introduced to echinacea by the Native American Indians, and they used it for helping people during sickness. And one of the things that happened because of this, echinacea became a flower root that was passed along to, I would say, people who wanted to make a profit from it. They actually drove wagons around from city to city, town to town in the Western days, and it had on the side of this box that they were pulling for medicinal herbs, and you would have the medicine man, the doctor, coming in saying, this is good for what ails you. And echinacea was one of those catch-all for just about anything was going on in the home front in early days of pioneers. Echinacea was very, very thoroughly used for that, and the biggest thing was they were told about it by the American Indian. And then we decided to make a profit from it. Evening primrose. Evening primrose. This flower produces a valuable seed oil that's too difficult to extract at home. So usually some person has to have some kind of machinery to make this happen. But evening primrose provides a valuable seed oil that is made outside the home but is very productive for that. Ginkgo. Ginkgo, this herb comes from a huge tree whose leaves must be processed into a concentrated extract to be medicinally useful. I have taken and pulled the leaves off the ginkgo tree and chewed up on them and see what it felt like, because no side effects from it. But I know one of the ginkgo things that I need to be taken seriously is for the brain, the mind. Being able to help our memory. Ginkgo. Ginseng. The medicinal roots of this plant do not mature for at least 5 years. It is too complicated to grow and process this plant yourself. At present, the deer are harvesting the ginseng, but really we don't have ginseng in our area here. The mountains is where our ginseng comes from, and the good old country folks back in the mountains dug up their ginseng. And the neat thing about ginseng, the ginseng root, if you look at it, it almost like it's cut off at the waist, and then it's usually 2 roots going down on the ginseng. And those 2 roots represent your hips and your legs. And so the belief with the signature of the plant is that the ginseng helps with any of the situations our body needs from the waist down. Therefore, it is one of the better known aphrodisiacs when it comes to being able to help your sex life. So ginseng, beautiful, powerful herb. And there are different Korean ginseng, Siberian ginseng, American ginseng. And I like taking the one that is closer to my locale, where I live. Hawthorn, the slow-growing shrub, is useful for treating heart problems. It's a powerful medicine that, this is the type of thing you need to make sure your doctor's aware of. Hawthorn is cardiovascular system for the pump, and it's very good for that purpose. There again, use wisdom and find your knowledge out before you do. Kava kava. Oh, wow. This herb is safe, a mild tranquilizer that grows only in tropical forest. I went to a class, and this has been a number of years ago, and it was strictly a 3-hour class on kava kava. And what we did on that is we got to experience in the latter part of the class, you can make a choice. Some of it choose to use the twigs and to brew it. Some of you use the capsules and take it. So we had the liquid, the chewing of it, or the bark, and chewed the bark. So there was a multi-group of trying different ways kava kava would work. And the best thing that was so cool about this class is that everybody in that whole class were friends. They just enjoyed it. They just got mildly relaxed, and there was no crossness between anybody in the class, or it was all kava kava made everybody just mellow out. Whether they drank from the bowl of punch, whether they took the capsule, whether they ate and chewed on the twigs or whatever it may be, kava kava just had everybody just chilled. As they say, a mild tranquilizer. I love that. Licorice. There's an anti-ulcer herb that is simply too hard to grow, at least from most places, but licorice, very good product, and we can get more in that, but licorice also like for settling stomach. Let's see other things. That didn't really give me what I wanted to say. HIJKL. Let me see what it has for licorice in here. Oh, there's so many L's. Okay, licorice. Buying a standardized 8, preventing licorice prevent tooth decay. Actually, for smoking cessation, licorice used for treating asthma, arthritis, baldness. I should have had that a long time ago. Body odor, bursitis, canker sores, chronic fatigue, colds and flu, cough, dandruff, depression, gingivitis, gout, liver problems, Lyme disease, menopause. There's a whole lot of things that licorice has been used and helped with. So, just one of those herbs. Milk thistle. I love milk thistle. It's the prickly leaves of this herb make it more painful to harvest yourself. You got to be aware of it. But I love the cleansing, detoxifying effect of it. Let me just flip over here to milk thistle. milk thistle, anti-aging, for liver production, for treating gallstones and liver problems and psoriasis. I use it to help kind of detoxify and cleanse. That's what I do with it. Red pepper, a plant that grows tropical climates. It also contains a pain-relieving compound called capsicum that often shows up in standardized products. Circulation. I think, this is one of my throw-out thoughts. Doesn't cost anything, okay? But when it comes to the Hispanic diet, there's a lot of things in there that are probably kind of like lard and using animal fat and different things that what we call plugging up the arteries. And so I think one of the things that helps the people that have that diet in the Hispanic population, that the hot peppers help to cleanse and detoxify, so the body has a tendency. It's just like this. We eat pork. What do we eat with it normally? Coleslaw, vinegar. There's some negative things in this particular food we take. Therefore, over the generations, in my opinion, God has shown those individuals that take this particular diet, if you will put vinegar with it, if you will put this particular herb with it, cabbage, that it helps offset the negativity that's coming from maybe pork, okay? That's an example. All right. So red pepper, often standardized product. Look up red pepper. See what it has to say about it. And, rosemary, red pepper. For preventing heart disease, ulcers, for treating arthritis, back pain, bunions, carpal tunnel syndrome, dry mouth, emphysema, headaches, indigestion. I have known individuals who had a bleeding ulcer that they've taken cayenne pepper. Actually, the gentleman that started Nature's Sunshine, Mr. Gene Hughes, almost 50 years ago, had a bleeding ulcer, and he would take, and what he would do, he would use it by the spoon and swallow it, and his wife said, Gene, or put in water, stir it up and drink it. His wife said, Gene, there's got to be a better way. So they start putting capsules of cayenne pepper in a little bottle, and they actually start selling it to the drugstores. And then they continue with that practice of making herbs and putting them in capsules. And it all started with a gentleman having a bleeding ulcer, taking cayenne pepper. The ulcer was cauterized and it disappeared. I mean, I did it this morning, right up here. I got a little spot, it's a little tough, and got a little blood. All you do, I just take the cayenne pepper, dip it on up there, or capsicum, and just put it right there. Almost an instant stopping. And then I've done it in the past for bleeding, stumped my toe, whatever it may be, and it's been a good preventive to help take care of that. Tea tree, it's a topical plant, and it is one of my favorite for what it will do. I usually try to have tea tree available and peppermint available oil for multitude of things. And for your information, tea tree herb, and some of the things that toothache, tea tree. Here's a list of things for treating over the years that have been summarized by Dr. James Duke in the Green Pharmacy, and I will list some of these for you. For preventing altitude sickness, in other words, when you're flying, it'll also help your neighbor, because once that aroma is opened out of that little bottle, it's going to go. But it has been used for treating asthma, arthritis, canker sores, diabetes, diarrhea, dizziness, gas, gingivitis, hemorrhoids, inflammation of the bowel, liver, pain, sunburn. Those are some of the things that tea tree has been used for over the decades, long time. So we do have available at Remedy This Naturally. We have the herbs as much as possible in standardized version that you can purchase, and yes, it will be a lot more expensive than buying in bulk, or you can raise some yourself. You know, a lot of people have a rosemary bush at the door going into their home because rosemary will help cut down mosquitoes. And I just love just taking rosemary and smelling it. It's just a powerful anointing thing to me. Let's see, let me go back and just give you some ideas other than at the back door for the mosquitoes. But you can just, rosemary grows pretty well in this area. It really does. You'll see it a lot. Okay. Is this helping? I think so. Rosemary. Oh, it started over here. It's for memory improvement, for preventing Alzheimer's disease, cataracts, heart disease, for treating arthritis, baldness, body odor, depression, fainting, pain, and wrinkles. Those are rosemary. Need to get another bush growing with all those things coming on. You know, and most of the time you will notice that we don't carry anything that we know that has a detrimental effect. Digitalis, you know, you won't find that in our store because of the questioning about it as to the negative effect of it. And you have to understand our goal and objective at Remedy This Naturally is to make available and to educate you, myself, on God's pharmacy, the green, as he says, the green pharmacy, and what it can do in a plant source. I mean, think about cooking. You know, when you cook a ham, you put cloves in it. My mom always made the perfect of just taking the whole cloves and just sticking them in the skin before she put that ham in the oven. There was just an aroma there that made you want that ham to hurry up and get out because you want to tackle it. It smelled so good. Cooking lamb with rosemary. Think about the spices you use if you do cook, or if you don't cook, think about the spices that have been used for what you have ordered from the kitchen of a restaurant or places cooking for you. And kind of start thinking, what is it that this herb does to this product, and why does it make it possible for me to be able to enjoy it and get the medicinal benefit of the herbs that are there? Very, very, very cool, okay? You know, I've got another whole program here. Hopefully it will work that I will be able to talk about aging, and you know, I'm in my 70s, and I watch too many people, or hear too many people take and become bedridden, and hopefully, I really believe that if God will show favor to me when it's time for me to know that I'm leaving this world, that He will whisper in my ear, it's okay for you to do like the American Indian, and that is just go and have that quiet place and just relax and fellowship with your Creator, and just go ahead and just sink back into and watch your spirit leave. And as your spirit leaves, you look back and you see that frame we live in, just waiting for somebody to take the time to show us respect and bury us. I think that's the way to go. And what can we do in this and making sure that we do it? You know, as an herbalist, I have a particular interest in herbs that can hold back the aging process. But I'm forced to admit that I think lifestyle changes are a whole lot more important than herbs, and even more important than hormonal supplementation in helping you stay youthful. So I think that we need to understand some life-changing things that are important to us, that are just as fundamental treatments that we do to ourselves in our behavior and our what we do or don't do or should do or shouldn't do. So I think we need to address that. But in search of medicinal herbs, Remedy This Naturally has a good selection of them, and we have an exceptional large bulk herbs, and most people not even aware of it, that we have them at Remedy This Naturally. I would suggest is take the time, come in and look and read the listing of what's on the jars that have these herbs in them in the bulk area. But there are a lot of herbs that, and I'll give you this because we're going into the fall, but I'm going to list you in the few minutes I have left here on this program, some of the herbs that you can grow yourself, and the recommendations, why you would want to do that, and what they can do for you, and how they can benefit you. So let's go ahead and get into that right quick. Basil is an insect-repelling herb, is recommended for treating bad breath and headaches. So basil. So you've got three things there. We're talking about bad breath, headaches, and repelling insects. Basil. Chives, along with their cousins, garlic, lynx, onions, chives help prevent cancer and treat high blood pressure. Just eating chives. And you can even grow them on your windowsill, okay? Dill. This herb is deservedly famous as a remedy for colic and gas. Have it on hand to pass out to friends and relatives, okay? I'm being facetious, but it would help. Dill, we just talked about colic and gas. Fennel, the herb, is good for treating upset stomach and indigestion. And I love going out and just taking some of the fennel and chewing it. And my fennel is gone now because what happens is the caterpillar gets on there and eats it down, all the outside and the leaves, and turns into a beautiful butterfly. It's worth the watch. Hyssop, mentioned in the Bible, hyssop contains several antiviral compounds and is useful in treating herpes. It is also reviewed as AIDS therapy. Lavender, some varieties of this loving herb are loaded with sedative compounds and can penetrate the skin. Toss a handful in your bath water and make a nice smelling way to relax. Parsley, best known as a great source of chlorophyll for combating bad breath. And also, men, garlic, parsley, is very rich in zinc. That's important to us men, which is good for men's reproductive health. Yet more than 90% of parsley used in restaurants is thrown away. Eat the parsley, throw away the steak. No, eat them both. Peppermint. This is a major source of cooling, soothing, and stomach-settling menthol. Rosemary, rich in antioxidants, this tasty culinary spice may help prevent Alzheimer's disease. Got a few more of them. We'll see if we can't bring this back up on the next show. Hopefully today has been a day of understanding that God's pharmacy and the green pharmacy, whichever way you want to call it, are there for our benefit and wellness. Trust God, check out His Word, find out how many times herbs and the types of herbs that are taught in the Bible, make a research paper, and find out which one worked best for you. Thank you for your time, energy, and effort, and your kind ear. I'm your host, Claiborne Holtzman at Remedy This Naturally. May good health be yours, and thank you for trusting God's pharmacy.
Respect for the law and the Constitution are the foundations of our state and country. My name is Sharon Sprinkle, and I want to be your next District Court Judge for Seat 3. 30 years experience as a prosecutor and private attorney make me the ideal candidate to fill this open seat for Nash, Edgecombe, and Wilson counties. I support the rule of law and the Constitution, especially our right to keep and bear arms. Vote Sharon Sprinkle, Republican candidate, District Court Judge, Seat 3.